some Katy Perry to make you smile. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fourth segment in our new series, Power Talks, presented by Kerastase. We're so excited to have you all here today. I'd like to recognize everyone who's experiencing Step Up for your first time. Welcome, welcome. Tell us where you're tuning in from in the chat and what you're excited to gain from this session. We look forward to getting to know you. Hello. Wow, all over. We got Louisiana, Boston, Atlanta, Dallas, Utah, Texas. Awesome. Chicago, New Jersey, New York, Greece. Hello. Very cool. Okay, no, just a mild flex there. Well, I'm Sophia. I am the Director of Young Adult Programs, and Jess Mara, my counterpart, I'm tuning in from LA today. Jess Mara is unable to join us, unfortunately. If you have her number or contact information, go ahead and send her some love and tell her that you miss her. We all do. I'm sure she would appreciate to hear from you. And I'm sure we'll see her soon. I'm going to pass things over to my friend Hollis to share some friendly reminders for our session.
Thanks, Sophia. Hi, everybody. So thrilled to be with you on this beautiful May Day. At least it's beautiful here in New York. But we have some reminders. So first, we want to ask that you do 3 things. The first thing we're going to ask you to do is just take a second right now and go ahead and change your display name. You want that to reflect your name, your role, and your pronoun. So as you can see mine, I have Hollis, staff, and she. So that's the first thing we need everybody to do. It will support us a little bit later when we go into our breakouts. The second thing is we're really going to ask, especially our young adults joining, if you could please turn on your cameras. It makes and creates a sense of us all being together, even though we're virtual. And then the last thing, or 2 more things, is everybody's going to be muted until we go into our breakout rooms. And then finally, if there's anything that you want to share, please put it in the chat. Our colleague Aja will be able to respond, and if there's anything you get kicked out, there's some confusion, Aja will be able to support you through the rest of the day. And I'm going to turn things back over to Sophia.
Thanks, Hollis, and thank you to Kerastase for your leadership and support in launching Power Talks. Kerastase is the world's leading luxury professional hair care brand. Since 1964, the brand has been offering exquisite products and bespoke in-salon treatments, all powered by scientific expertise and professional knowledge. It is now present in more than 60 countries with a community of about 150,000 hairstylists worldwide. Kerastase adopts a care-first philosophy that extends beyond its products to care for all hair types and all individuals, as well as the world that we live in. Through our partnership, we aim to ensure more young women have the confidence to define and achieve success on their own terms. You can visit Kerastase to learn more. Thank you, Kerastase, for your belief in the power of mentorship and for some of my favorite hair products I think I've ever had. I have the healthiest hair in my whole life, thanks to our partnership too. So much appreciated. All right, Power Talks, time for a change. Navigating career transitions can be a challenge for everyone, no matter what age or career stage you are in. Our hope for our time together today is that you all engage in powerful discussions on confidently making decisions, overcoming imposter syndrome, and determining the right questions to ask when considering what's next on your career journey. We'll start with a quick icebreaker game, hear from our speaker, Erica Robertson, then go into our first breakout, mentorship breakout session. We'll then come back together to talk about imposter syndrome, followed by a second mentorship breakout session. Mentors, your role today is to model participation by having your cameras on, being present, engaging in the chat, completing the exercises, and imparting words of encouragement, solidarity, and support during the mentorship moment breakout sessions. Hollis, my love, will you lead us through our icebreaker game, please?
I would love to. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So today we're going to do Would You Rather Lifestyle Edition. And so you're going to see some things on the screen and you're going to respond in the chat with which one you'd rather. So let's jump in. All right. Would you rather live in the city or the countryside? So would you rather live in a more expensive home with less money for travel and experiences, or a modest, affordable place with plenty of disposable income? Are we seeing A or B? Okay, I'm seeing A and B on the weekends. I love a both and. B, B, B. Okay, lots of countryside. B, B, a few A's. Okay, okay. Let's jump to the next one. All right, so this is, would you rather have a big lavish house or modest? You know what, y'all, hold up. I realized I mixed the two and nobody said anything. So I jumped in and mixed the two. So really this one is, would you rather live in a big, gorgeous home with less money to jump around and travel the world? Or would you want to live in a modest home that gives you the ability to travel around the world, have lots of other experiences? So what are we seeing? I am definitely going to go lavish home. And Brittany says A. Okay, B. Lorraine says B. What else? I'm seeing B's. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so we're kind of split here. A, no steps. Okay, that's fair. So we want land, but not steps. Okay, last one. Would you rather have a predictable, structured daily routine? So that's A, or a very flexible, spontaneous one. I'm seeing lots. There's a mixture. Okay, so I'm definitely going to be a B girl. I love the hammock. Someone said Amy, please. B, B. Both. We love a both and. Fantastic. So it looks like we have a nice mixture of both. All right, y'all. Thank you for jumping in with that with me. I love seeing all of the variety and the different ways that we could jump into that. I'm going to turn things back over to you, Sophia.
Thanks, Hollis. Those were some tough ones. I think I loved your, do you want to live large or do we want to travel more? And that's a really challenging question, and one that I ask myself every day, I think. All right, so I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our mentors who are here and engaging with us. Our mentorship moment is an invaluable part of our programs, and we greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your workday to impart some wisdom and connect with our young adults. We have so many inspiring mentors scheduled to join us today. I see so many of you on here. I love it. And there's just a few of them on the screen. So mentors, we invite you to introduce yourself in the chat, and our young adults, you can give our mentors a warm welcome. Thank you for celebrating with us at Power Talks. Hello, hello. Welcome, mentors. All right, let's meet our speaker, Erica Robertson. Erica is Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Business Development for L'Oreal Professional Products Division, and has nearly 20 years experience in the beauty industry, including 7 years at L'Oreal. At L'Oreal, Erica's passion for a diverse and inclusive beauty space has led her to continually advocate for product development, research advancement, cross-functional initiatives, and communication strategies that ensure all beauty enthusiasts can feel seen, heard, and valued throughout the salon industry. Erica received a BS degree and Bachelor's of Science degree in Finance from Hampton University and an MBA from the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. Erica also holds a master's in Cosmetic and Fragrance Marketing Management from the New York Fashion Institute of Technology. Please help me welcome Erica in the chat. Hello, Erica. I'm so excited. Hi. I'm so excited to be in a conversation with you today. You have such an impressive bio. And I'd love to hear, I have so many questions, but I'd love to start with your career story. So when you were studying business and finance, what was your vision for your career? Were you always focused on the beauty industry, or did you have something else in mind when you first started?
Yeah, so such a great question because I started my career, as you mentioned, in finance, but had no idea that I would land in the beauty industry. So my job in finance was actually with Motorola. So it was in the technology industry. And, I was inspired by working for a big company. My father was the first college graduate of his family. He worked for Ford Motor Company in Michigan, where I grew up, where I was born and raised. And I was just so inspired by my dad having this big job with a big company. So that's just kind of how I started off, pursued business, landed in finance. However, after a few years there with Motorola, I was introduced to a company called Warm Spirit that manufactured nature-based skincare and wellness products. And I decided to join the company part-time as an independent consultant in addition to my full-time job. And I had always been obsessed about beauty as a young girl. I loved hair care. I loved skincare. I was on the forefront of DIY. I mixed lots of ingredients to create my own treatments at home. And when I joined Warm Spirit, I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I realized it brought me more joy than my day-to-day finance job. And so that's when I decided that I was going to shift my career and pursue an opportunity in the beauty industry. So that's what led me to Michigan, to the Ross School of Business, to get my MBA. And while getting my MBA, I was laser focused that I was going to be in the beauty industry. So I networked with companies and recruiters that came on campus that had beauty brands within their portfolio, but also a marriage of companies that provided great training, in the world of marketing, in the world of products and brands. And so that led me to landing a job with Procter and Gamble. And at Procter and Gamble, I worked on some amazing brands, including Olay Skincare and CoverGirl, and had amazing experiences. I then moved on to Unilever, where I worked on, some amazing hair care products. And after a few years at Unilever, I decided to join L'Oreal, which is where I am now in the professional products division, which I believe I have absolutely found my calling because in professional products, we work with hairstylists and salons across the country, but also cosmetology schools and students who are learning their craft and entering into the industry as hairstylists. So you get to touch, a lot of different facets, of the industry in this division, which I truly enjoy. And I've also, I've worked on the marketing side of the business with amazing brands like Mazzani and Pureology. But more recently, I've landed in a role of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as Sophia mentioned. And it's something that I'm super passionate about. And I'll just speak to one other point, about my journey. You see here in the center, it highlights my community because that is also something that's super important to me. I love to give back, to my community. I love to mentor, which is why I was truly honored when I was invited to speak with you all here today. And, I'm a part of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And so I do a lot of, volunteer efforts, through my sorority in addition to mentoring. So that's just a little bit about my journey.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. That's such a good story. And I love how you started with business and finance and had this part-time job that actually brought out your passion and sparked so much joy inside of you and led you down this other trajectory that's very inspiring, gives a lot of hope, I think, to me, and reflecting back on being a 20-something not knowing what's next. So you also talked about utilizing your network when moving into the beauty industry. And so I'm curious, could you talk more about how you were able to leverage networking and making a career transition, and how mentorship played a role in you navigating that too?
Yes. So first starting with building a network. As I mentioned, when I entered into business school, I knew at that time that I wanted to work in the beauty industry. And so I was very fortunate that through the University of Michigan, there were lots of alumni that had these amazing jobs, with beauty companies across the country, like Procter and Gamble, like L'Oreal. And I reached out, I was courageous, found them in the alumni network and sent an email to introduce myself. This was a little before LinkedIn, so I had to use the alumni network, the alumni database, and sent an email to introduce myself, to learn a little bit more about their journey, how they landed with the company. But not only that, because I was making a transition in my career coming from a finance background, I thought it was super important to create why I would be the ideal candidate to kind of land into a beauty role, coming from tech, coming from finance, right? And so as a result, I thought that was also a super important reason as to why to build a network. At Michigan, I was very fortunate in the second semester of my first year. We had a program called, I'm forgetting the name of the program right now, but it was basically a few-week student consulting opportunity, where you could go and partner with a company and with a team of other students and work on a project, at that company. And so, as I mentioned, because I was trying to make this transition from finance, I, was very intentional that I was going to do my project with the number one company, I was looking at the time, and it ended up being Procter and Gamble. And that was through that project was a way that I was able to even increase my network and gain more visibility, gain more exposure to who I am, and my passion for beauty. And ultimately, that's how, when I later came back my second year, I was able to land a full-time opportunity. So, just kind of gives, some examples of how I, built a network, how I was super intentional about that, because I was very focused on, what career opportunities I wanted to pursue. The other part of your question was around mentors and, what roles that mentors have played. And, I think what I found in some wonderful advice is that mentorship is very great, for those, in forming relationships with those who are experienced, maybe in the industry that you're interested in, the types of roles that you're interested in, many who are outside of like your direct team, who you could have a safe space, a sounding board to bounce ideas off of, to help you build your ideas, but also give you advice, in terms of how to navigate your career. But in addition to mentors, I think having a sponsor is also super important. So not sure how many of you on the call have heard the term of sponsorship or even have sponsors yourself, but a sponsor tends to be someone who knows your background, who you've developed a relationship with, but who can advocate for you in rooms and spaces when you're not in it, right? And so I found that has been also like super important, to have in, the way that I've been able to navigate my career is developing, those sorts of sponsors who are at the table when decisions are being made about placements into, the next roles, within my company, or who can speak to, the contributions that I've made, to the division, to the organization. And so I think it's super important to be able to build those sorts of relationships as well, of people who know your experiences, who know your strengths, and can advocate for you in places where you may not be at the table.
Amazing. Thank you. There were so many mic drop moments in there. I hope everybody was taking notes, or at least we're recording this, Erica. And there's so much that I want to dig into everything that you just said too. I have like a million questions that sparked from all of your, all of those gems. First, I love how you really are the example of using your network to like move into the next, setting a goal and putting yourself in places and spaces where you can be seen and your value can be shown, and you can grow and learn. Like that program that you participated in was such a great opportunity. And there was clearly, it led to got you moving forward in your next step, which is awesome. And then, yeah, I just loved everything that you said. So I want to ask, and I know you've talked about being a mentor yourself too. So what advice do you have for 20-something-year-olds who are going through major life transitions, and maybe feeling overwhelmed or uncertain about like, what is the next step in their career journey or their next step in life even?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, great question, because I think, many of us have been there. And the first thing that I would say is, put yourself first. I believe that self-care is of number one importance, when it comes to every, phase, of growth. And so with that, with self-care, have fun, and do things that you enjoy, and find your hobbies and the things that you're passionate about. The next piece that I would say is honestly around passion. So passion, for yourself personally, but also passion for, what sorts of like subjects, products, get you excited. Because as I shared in my career journey, I, started in finance and I started in tech and I didn't love it, right? And in my personal life, I loved doing my hair. I loved, as I mentioned, my DIY of mixing ingredients. And never once did I think that could be a career, right? And so I would say, be intentional about, what brings you passion and find different ways that you can explore that as a career, right? Meet people who, may be doing that, in a company or an organization. Or is there something you could start, be an entrepreneur yourself, to create those things that really excite you and bring you joy. And then the other piece that I would say about as you're navigating those, transitions in life is to in the ways that you can just be intentional and know your why. It's I think for me, as I've been very fortunate that in many cases, I was always able to land my dream job, right? And I think ultimately the reason why is that I was always very centered in my why. So when I was in business school, I knew very clearly, why I wanted to work in beauty. And I knew very clearly why I was interested in the specific companies that I was interviewing with, because of the training programs that they offered, because of the success of alumni, from the school that I went to. And so I was able to passionately speak to that and tell my story of why I was a good fit and why I wanted to be with that company, right? And so I think ultimately that can help you, when you are able to find, your purpose. And I would say, that's it's easy to say that now, but as I've transitioned in my career, and especially in the role that I'm in now, I got to a point in my career where I was like, I don't want to do the same old thing. I actually want to create, a new role. And that's, how I landed in my current job. It's like I've had these amazing experiences in marketing, working with amazing brands. But through all of those experiences, I always brought a passion for diversity, for inclusion, and advocating, as Sophia mentioned in my bio, for all beauty enthusiasts to feel seen, celebrated. And, and I was like, why don't I create a role of helping, brands in our division do that, right? And so I essentially created a proposal for my leadership, to say, I believe this should be a focus. I believe diversity and equity and inclusion is super important for, the products within our professional products division in the hairstylist and salon industry. And, let me step into it and let me contribute and make an impact, and help our organization lead the way. So, just a few examples, like I said, of kind of knowing my why and really being driven by that. I truly believe I'm purpose driven. And, ultimately that's how I find joy, in everything that I do.
Amazing. I love that. Great advice, knowing your why. I saw a lot of engagement in the chat, just really echoing that and finding a lot of hearing and seeing themselves or the advice that they needed from what you were saying in the chat.
Mhm.
So thanks for sharing.
Awesome.
I have one more question and we're running short on time. So I want to get this in though. Because a lot of times when you're following your passion, your why, you have this dream job, right? That you've been working for, and then you get it. And then there can be a moment of, oh my God, who am I even to be in this role? And who am I even to have sold myself for this position and now I'm here. And sometimes a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome when they achieve a goal or land a milestone.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, you've been dropping so many gems. I would love to hear your advice on navigating and overcoming imposter syndrome.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's so funny because as I'm sharing my story, I'm sure it sounds like, it's been just this amazing ride, right? Of all these beautiful experiences that have been so phenomenal and always happy, right? But there have been times in my career where I didn't get it right. And I give an example of a time when I wanted to stretch myself and I really, sought out a job and a role to help me build a new skill set, to kind of, like I said, stretch, from, some of the things that I had been doing in my career. And so, I stepped into the role and, I felt like I was out of my comfort zone, and trying to build and learn, this knowledge and, these new skills. And honestly, in addition to that, I was also the only person of color on the team. And I was in a space where I'm not sure if I belong, and and so it was just this constant, battle and fight, within myself of trying to fit in and ultimately just feeling, that sense of imposter syndrome. And as a result, like I wasn't able to perform at my best, because of all those factors. And honestly, the narration that was being created at the time in terms of, like my performance and so forth was also discouraging as a result, of all those factors, right? But how I was able to navigate that situation is at the end of the day, I just had to be honest, and I had to have, super honest conversations like, I'm in a role, I've stepped into this role to stretch myself. And so I first and foremost just want to acknowledge that and, and speaking with my manager to say, I need your support in that, as I'm stretching and building a new skill, help me navigate to find the right trainings, maybe to adopt and build the new skill sets. Help, I, work to find mentors even and so forth. And, and so that allowed me to create some level of success by just having those super honest conversations and making sure that it wasn't just me fighting to fit in, but that my manager was also supporting me, knowing that I was doing the best I could, to try to stretch myself and learn something new, right? So, I think, that's an example. And, I thought, and it was at that time that I was able to really gain clarity on, as I go to the next step in my career, becoming super clear on what are the things that are important to me, what are the things that I find joy in doing, and just being super clear about, how I can take steps in my career to align myself to that, to be aligned to my values, to be aligned to what I believe, to be my purpose. Mhm.
Amazing. So it sounds like taking a moment to reflect
Mhm.
and being honest, to get clear and honest with yourself too about where you are and why you're in this position,
Mhm.
and then expressing that to those that need to hear it.
Absolutely. And one point I'll add is also making sure that, I'm stepping into teams where I feel I belong to as a woman of color, as a Black woman, making sure that I'm in spaces and places, where that's, valued. And so, yeah, I think that's also just another important point.
Totally. Yeah.
Mhm.
I appreciate everything that you've shared, Erica. Thank you so much for walking us through your career journey and providing such great and inspiring insights. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure some people will let us know in their chat. Yep, some thanks and appreciations towards you. Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And I believe, hopefully, my LinkedIn profile will be shared, but I welcome any of you to reach out. I would be happy to connect further, answer any questions. So thank you.
I'm sure you're going to get a little overburdened, maybe not overburdened, but lots of invites and connections on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. So Erica got us started with a great overview of our topics for the day, and let's talk a little bit more about some tips for navigating a career change. So some tips from us are, the first one is to focus on common threads and transferable skills. So when considering changing directions, start by thinking about what similarities your previous roles share. Also focus on those soft skills like relationship building, time management, and leadership that are transferable. Tip 2 is to fill in the gaps in your skill set. Consider what skills you can gain that will make your transition smoother. Explore professional development opportunities within your current company to expand your skill set. Tip number 3 is to learn to navigate imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a common feeling when switching career identities. Learn healthy ways to anticipate and navigate those thoughts. And we'll talk more about this later. So don't worry, we're not just like, learn how to do it. We'll give you some tips later on and practice together. Tip number 4 is to grow your network. Seek out opportunities and mentors to expand your network, particularly those in the industries that you are interested in. And then tip number 5, don't be afraid to start over. If you're able to make it work financially, consider an entry-level role or program that will help you gain experience. Remember, you can build yourself up again from any starting point. So we're going to continue this conversation in our breakout rooms with our mentors. Mo, I just want to check in. Are we good to go on our breakout rooms?
Yep, good to go.
Awesome, thank you. So we will see you back in about 15 minutes. Sorry, that was so fast. Our mentor in our group got cut off, but we'll be going back to those breakout rooms in just a little bit. So to be continued. Okay, so let's go back into our content, and we'll also like reflect as a group later on too. Let's talk about some imposter syndrome and those tips to navigate it, because you are not alone. So imposter syndrome, just to lay the groundwork, and can be defined as a feeling of self-doubt and inadequacy about one's skills or talents, despite your own accomplishments. In this safe space, those that are comfortable, can you drop an emoji in the chat if you've ever felt this way? And I'll just say I would put all of the emojis in the chat if for myself too. All right, I see a lot, some hands, some hearts, some emojis in there. All right, representing that feeling imposter syndrome is not a lonely feeling, or it's not, you're not alone in feeling imposter syndrome or battling with those feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy. Thank you for being honest. And let's talk about how we can navigate this, because we know everyone here is amazing, and you sometimes just need to be reminded of that. Okay, so tips for navigating imposter syndrome. First, give yourself a reality check. When thoughts of self-doubt and inadequacy start to creep in, remind yourself that it is just that, a thought, not a fact. Acknowledge your emotions and prepare some healthy coping mechanisms, for when they arise. You can keep track of your strengths and accomplishments. It's easy to focus on your to-do list, your mistakes, your weaknesses, and forget to acknowledge your strengths and accomplishments. Keep an ongoing list of your strengths and accomplishments so you can refer to it when you're having a rough day. Build your support network. So resist the urge to isolate yourself. Lean on coworkers you trust, ask your supervisor for ways to grow, and seek out a mentor who can support you through these times. And then anticipate those feelings. You might notice that you tend to experience feelings of imposter syndrome around certain times. Your first few months on a new job, performance reviews, when you have a big project due, etc. Take note of those times so you have your coping mechanisms handy. So let's focus on the first tip. Give yourself a reality check. Here's a formula to keep in mind when self-doubt tries to take over. You can acknowledge your thoughts. So start by writing down any negative thoughts you're experiencing. For example, you might feel like you're not qualified for a new job once a big project comes up that you are struggling with. Part 2, challenge your thoughts. Challenge those thoughts with evidence. Using the example of not feeling qualified for the job, you are hired for a reason. Think about those skills and experiences that led you to where you are at this moment. And then lastly, reframe your thoughts. Now that you've challenged your thoughts with evidence, reframe them in a positive and affirming way. Instead of thinking I'm not qualified for this job, reframe it as my skills and experience make me a valuable asset to this team. So let's take 2 minutes to practice this. Jot down a negative thought or limiting belief you have had about yourself in the past. Then challenge that thought with evidence and reframe it in a positive way. We'll play some music, and after the music, we'll go straight into our breakout room so we can discuss these and continue conversations that we were having before in our last breakout rooms. So, and Margot, go ahead and you can play the music. Is everyone back? Okay, awesome. I know we were like, oh, we should just end there before we get any more thoughts cut off or anything else. So thank you all. I love these Power Talk breakout rooms so much. They're so fruitful. And I have always said, no matter the audience, I wish that I had stepped up when I was your age. And I wish that I had stepped up or a conversation like this when navigating changes and trying to think through things, and feeling lots of uncertainty and overwhelmed. So thanks, mentors, for participating and engaging. And thank you, young adults. And I think you should all give yourselves a pat on the back for being here and taking the initiative to build your network too. So love to hear how it went. I know how it went in my breakout room session, but would love to hear from others. So maybe I have somebody from Hollis's breakout room want to share. What was your conversation about?
Yes, we have Kasi from Bulgaria who's going to represent our group.
Yes, I am calling in from Bulgaria today. So we had, I think Tyler already put a comment in the chat, but we had a lot of gems come in our session. We talked about imposter syndrome, and Tyler actually mentioned, kind of in response to somebody sharing, how important it is not to look at where other people are and try to be where they are, but kind of really focus on your own journey and figuring out where you are in the process. And we talked also about the importance of intentionality, which came up in our speakers' initial talk today, about being intentional and paying attention to the parts that are bringing you joy in your life and focusing on them. And that's how you discover which direction to move into, instead of trying to choose the things that you think your parents want you to choose, or society wants you to choose, or because somebody said you have to be doing, those lists, like this is what you should do by age 25. Like, who cares? Like, look at your own space and where you are and what's comfortable. And one thing that came to mind as we were talking is this book I'm reading right now. It's called Choose Your Story, Change Your Life by Kindra Hall. Some of you may know she's very famous in the storytelling space. And storytelling is something I work with my students and clients on. And so she speaks about the power of the stories that we tell ourselves. So when it comes to imposter syndrome, that is a story that we're telling ourselves. And your brain can't tell the difference between a real story and a non-real story. So if you're telling yourself, I'm not a tech person, I can't succeed in the tech world, then that's exactly what's going to happen. So if you want to move forward in that space, you have to change the story you tell yourself. Stories are powerful both positively and negatively. Stories can empower us to do something great, and they can also sabotage us. So really pay attention. What are the stories you're telling yourself when you're not feeling well? So if something is happening in your life right now and you're not feeling happy or you're not feeling satisfied, what's the story, that inner voice, what's the story that's playing in your mind? And
Thank you so much, Cressy. That was such a wonderful recap. I want to make sure Sophia has the opportunity to hear from everybody else.
You gotta shut me up, but I'll keep going.
I know, and it's all love. And it's all love. That's what I love about this space, because I felt your heart and really appreciate it. Sophia.
Thanks, Hollis. Thanks, Crossy. Yes, all about the stories. I love that. Let's go with, is there somebody from Mickey's room who would like to share a reflection on your breakout room session?
Who would like to go from our group? We had some great conversation.
Is it cool if I go?
Yes, please, man. Yeah.
So for me, for the notes that I jot down, I think the sentence that would sum it up is, how people are always like, it takes a village like to raise a child and stuff like that. I feel like it also takes a village to build yourself back up. So I feel like that's what we kind of took from it, or I took from it at least. And it's really just having to reflect on yourself, and really for me, it's also reflecting on yourself, but also knowing that it's okay to reach out for help as well. Like, you can't do it all by yourself. And I feel like that's what kind of stuck out to me the most, was it also takes a village to raise a child, but also takes a village to build yourself back up as well. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Naya. Totally feels a support system is needed and for anything and always, whether you're feeling good or low, feeling good to celebrate things with and feeling low to help build yourself back up. So thanks for sharing. It's awesome. And I was wondering if anyone from my group would love to close us out with some reflections from our breakout room, so everybody else can hear the gems that we all heard too. Cindy, I think you're being voluntold.
I am happy to jump in. I only didn't volunteer because I feel like I talk a lot, so I kind of want to make sure I give room for everybody. But thank you, Grace. That was very sweet. So yeah, I think you know, my number one advice to people always, to especially to young people, is to stay in motion and to really just keep putting yourself in those rooms, raising your hands for those projects, like doing everything you can to keep putting yourself out there. And honestly, to following the thing that you want to do. That was to one of Erica's points, right? Which is, I have found so many times, because of whether it was confidence or imposter syndrome, like that I sometimes was just happy to be in the room, not necessarily doing the job that I wanted to do. And so I feel like, you know, yeah, get your foot in those doors, but then beyond that, like really take charge of what you want to do. Like, I think Erica's story is so great, and you're not always going to get it right on the first try or the second try. And, you know, that's not really the point. I think sometimes when we compare ourselves to other people, I love to have someone put that in the chat. We do that. But there was a quote that I read a while ago. I forget who it was from, but it was something to the effect of like, a flower doesn't compete with the flower next to it. It just blooms. And so I think if you really just think about your own bloom and your own thing, and not, oh, I'm behind this person, oh, you know, whatever. I think that's all really important.
I love that. Thank you, Cindy. Good stuff. Good conversations. I love how fruitful it was for everybody. That's funny. Okay, so let's move on, unfortunately, for the sake of time, but our conversations are always so great here. You can keep the conversation. I saw some LinkedIn handles being dropped in the chat earlier. So young adults, I hope you take some initiative to connect with some of the mentors that were here today. Build your network, build your support, and keep these conversations going. So mentors, you can look out for a survey that's going to be coming from us from Step Up in the next couple of weeks, where you'll be able to share your experiences as a mentor in Power Talks, and also see the opportunities to keep inspiration and impact going in the future. Currently, I have a poll for our young adult participants. Let's see. So I would like to hear from you, young adults, if you're 18 to 29. After this session, how equipped do you feel to navigate career transitions? So there's a few options: much more than before, equally as much as before, less than before, or much less than before. So. Cool, perfect. Thanks, Anne Margot. Sorry for this struggle. All right, love the answers in the chat. We'll also take them on the poll just so we can have data. We love data. All right, and then we'll go to our next question. So after this session, how equipped do you feel to navigate feelings of imposter syndrome? Same same options. So much more than before, equally as much as before, less than before, or much less than before. And then our last poll question, in which ways did the mentors, both speakers and breakout room mentors, maximize your experience in the session? And you can select all that apply. So they helped me feel motivated, they helped me learn new skills, they helped me gain access to places and spaces, they helped me in ways not listed here, or they didn't help me in any way. All right, thanks, San Margo. I have some upcoming announcements to share before we part ways. So the first is for young adults and mentors in the LA area. We're super excited to announce an in-person Power Talks at the Step Up headquarters. So Power Talks presented by Kerastas, your next step up. Come connect and celebrate your journey to success with past and present Step Up peers, mentors, facilitators, advocates, sisters, and friends. At this Power Talk, Step Up is guiding a conversation on setting goals aligned with your ideal lifestyle, navigating the journey to and post goal achievement, and the power networking has along the way. You can register today with the link that was dropped in the chat or the QR code on the screen. So again, this is for our LA-based young adults and mentors. We can't wait to see you in person. Hopefully give you some consented long awkward hugs and have gift bags to have you leave with also. And share it with your friends too. And then our next one, starting on July 10th, young adults, you can join us for Career Camp, a free virtual 3-week camp exposing you to companies like PepsiCo, Benefit Cosmetics, LinkedIn, Comcast, NBC Universal, Visible, and more. You can put your summer days to work, helping you jumpstart the career of your dreams. Sign up for a week of virtual field trips, 2 weeks of virtual job shadowing, or both. Again, links to apply were dropped in the chat and our QR codes on the screen. That's it from me and us today. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Erica, again for a great conversation. Hope you all enjoyed this time of introspection and connection. We look forward to seeing you again soon.